Alright, so this is going to be your install. I'm going to try and go through this slow, and in an attempt to go through at the same pace that you're going through, I'm going to do it live. So I'm going to do it with you, so we can all be on the same page. So in order to do this, you have to have that zip file downloaded. So if you haven't gotten that far, then you're the one who's going to go back and take a look at the video later and catch up where you missed. So after I've downloaded it, I have this little thing sitting on my desktop. It says adt/bundle/mac/ a couple of other things. Looks like version 29.zip. Yours is going to look slightly different if you're on a Windows system. Go ahead and uncompress it. I uncompress it on a MacBook by just double-clicking on the zip file, and it opens up a little folder for me. So now I'm going to see a folder on my desktop momentarily. It's a pretty big file. It's got everything in it. It didn't take that long to download though, which is really nice actually. So now I have a folder. Now what I want to do with this folder is put it someplace. Put it someplace where I'm going to be able to use it and not, like, I don't want it on my desktop. It makes no sense to have it on my desktop. So I'm going to open up my applications directory. It doesn't really matter where you put it. On a Windows machine, go to File Manager, load it somewhere off the C drive. Me, I'm just going to stick this guy right into here. And I don't have him on here, so I don't have any repeats. I stuck him off my home directory. So I got, and I'm leaving this alone. I'm not renaming it. And I got the 64-bit because I'm on a 64-bit processor. You might have a 32-bit, you might have, that might be a problem. Depending upon how the system picked you up, it automatically downloaded the correct one for me. If you have a Windows 8 machine, one of the problems was it was giving you the wrong 32 versus 64. So that might be an issue. You might have to go back in and pretend like manually download it differently. So we'll see what happens. If I double click on the folder and I open it up, I've got Eclipse and I've got an SDK folder. Now, for the SDK folder, I don't really have to do anything with it outside about knowing where it's at. So I'm just going to leave it alone. If I double click on the Eclipse folder, and you guys on the Windows machines have the same thing, you're just opening it up. Look for this green little icon. You got a green little icon? Drag it or make a shortcut out of it. If you're on a Windows machine, make a shortcut out of it. If you're on a MacBook, do what I'm going to do. Makes your life easier. I'm going to stick it right next to my purple one. My purple one is for Java programming. You can have many different versions of Eclipse in your system. Doesn't really matter. You see how the install works. It just installs it somewhere, which is great. So if you don't have Java installed, you're going to find out real quickly. Because what you're going to do now is you're going to open up a DOS prompt. Or if you're on a MacBook, it's going to be a terminal prompt. And you want to type in Java C. There's a little C on the end of it. And press return. You should get something that looks like that. If you're on a MacBook and you don't get that, you're going to get a little prompt that says, hey, Java's not installed. Would you like to install it? Say yes. Install it. It's the easiest way of doing it. If you're on a Windows machine, you're not going to get anything. You're going to get bad command or file name. You got bad command or file name, Windows people have another step. So the other step you're going to do is you're going to go open up a Firefox or web browser, go to Google. I don't know what the version is, and I don't have it bookmarked because I don't install Java this way on a Mac. But if you're on a Windows, you got to install it through the download site. Download Java JDK. If you're in the, if you were in my Java programming course, leave your Java alone. It's just fine. Don't touch your Java. If you weren't in that course, looks like JDK 7 is what you want. So we don't need the EE version. That's Enterprise Edition. We need the JDK. So that's not JRE, that's Java Runtime Engine. JDK has Java Runtime Engine in it. If you're doing this, accept the license. Download whichever one is for your machine. So you'll need to download and install Java. You can actually get by without it running for Eclipse right now. So Windows people, if you have a computer with you right now, download and run through the install for Java. Okay, anybody doing this actually? Just out of curiosity? Okay, good. Anyone need help with this, by the way? Just out of curiosity? Because I can take like a short little break, go around and make sure you're up to speed. Anybody want help with this? Okay, I'm gonna take a slight pause here for 5 minutes or less. Actually, let me cancel it because I wasn't recording it. All right, so when you load it, when you run it, when you click on the icon, now I'm not going to only get that. I didn't get that message again. I only got it one time. So if you clicked on that little button and it said, "Hey, sorry, you can't do it," then you're going to have to make a settings change for permissions on your MacBook. Windows people should be able to do that just fine. Windows people, however, have one more setting you have to change when you get done installing Java, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. In order for me to do that, I have to actually have a Windows machine, so I'm going to open up a Windows partition here real quick. Have this run in the background. Alright, so if you clicked on your little purple or your little green button, let me close this. You see ADT up in the upper left-hand corner of, if you're on a Mac. If you're on a Windows machine, it shows up in the window. It's not called Eclipse anymore. It's called ADT, Android Developing Tools, Android Developer Tools. This here, you'll only have to save one time. Okay, so if you were in the Java class and you installed your other Eclipse with your purple circle thingy, you're already using Workspace. Workspace is the subfolder that you're using to save all your Java projects in. I don't want to put my Java projects with my Android projects. They don't get along well. So I'm going to change Workspace. I'm going to call this one Android. You can call it whatever you want. If you've never installed Eclipse before, you don't have any other version of Eclipse, and by the way, we have Eclipse for C++, Eclipse for Java, Eclipse for Python, Eclipse for everything out there. You can have 25 different versions of Eclipse on your computer, no problem. But I would keep different workspaces, because then when you open and you close things, it's better organization for what kind of project is that, then you know where it's at. If you haven't gotten anything, go ahead and save it in Workspace. That works just fine. If you click on this little button over here that says use this as the default and do not ask again, then the prompt won't keep showing up. So go ahead and press OK. You should have something that looks like that on your screen. This will work with or without your Java working. Your Java can come later. While this is loading, I'm going to switch over, though, for Windows people. I have an XP box, which nothing has really changed from XP. It's all in system. So if you downloaded, after you download your Java, you have to run through an install for it. After you're done installing it, you got to change your class path. So if I come over and I go into the control panel, this is only for Windows people, by the way, and click on System. And then inside System, your GUI is going to look different because you're going to be on 7 or 8. Probably you're not going to be on XP at this point. You're going to click on Advanced. You're going to go into Environment Variables, or you're going to find it another way. What you're changing is in the lower window down here, and it's called Path. If you edit it, you see at the bottom here, I actually have mine on here. I have C:\program files \Java JDK 1.7.0_11. You need to put the bin subdirectory in there, which was somebody's problem over here. You probably didn't put bin in there. Once you put bin in there, make sure you put a semicolon at the end of the line. So you have a semicolon, and then you have C:\program files, etc. And don't worry, at the end of this class meeting, I've reserved some time for one-on-one. So just hold. If you have a pressing issue that's keeping you right now, just hold on to it. I will guarantee it, if you stick around long enough, you'll be done by the end of today. But I just don't want to take class time. So we'll do it at the end. We're going to get out a little bit earlier, so we'll have time to troubleshoot those problems. But long story short, put a semicolon in, C:\\. Make sure you're using the right backslashes. Add the path. They have to have exactly the same. It's case sensitive. Exactly the same as where it's located on your computer. When you're done with it, save it. Go to the DOS prompt. See if it works. If it doesn't work, reboot it to reset your environment variables. If that doesn't work, check the path again, because there's something wrong with the path. It should work. So let me shut this down. If the path's not working, it just means your Java C is not going to work. It still might work. If you have Java installed, it still might work from the Eclipse, though. All right, so back to the install. What is this? Oh, they changed the GUI on me again. So my GUI looks different than I expected last time. Actually, when I came in, I was at a different screen. You might be on that one as well. I clicked on the little Java thing to change my interface. I'm not quite sure how I got to that different screen. Hold on one second. I'm going to see. Always exit without prompts. I'm going to go back in, actually. I'm going to open it back up again to see if I go back to that default look. I want to tell you a little bit. We'll build a sample project so you can sort of see how this works. Hello. I'm going to kill this. Could have been downloading. All right, so I'm bringing, I don't know what happened there, so I'm going to bring my Android back up. It should not prompt me the second time for the workspace if I've already saved it. So I'm going to give you a little orientation to the IDE so we know what we're looking at. If you had the screen that I had a few minutes ago, I don't know if you're going to get that or not. It was probably updating the SDK. So if you go into the window directory, a window pull-down menu. Now on a MacBook it's up on the top. On a Windows machine it's inside your window. You'll see Android SDK, Android Virtual Device Driver, run Android link. You see this bunch of stuff that says Android on it? If you don't see that, you have the wrong version of Eclipse. You're not loading up the right Eclipse. So hopefully you have that. And if you go into Android Sdk Manager, you will see that you will have a ton of stuff to choose from. You know, in the old days, I used to have this big old graphic thing, and you clicked on the bubbles, and it brought you to the interface. Now I believe that that little window came up instead. So it looks like I have 4.3 of the SDK installed, and I come down to the bottom, and I see I have a bunch of selections to choose from. As we go through the course, we'll be installing some of these. If you have the current one installed, that's fine. Another one that you might, if you're bored, if you're actually at this stage and this is working for you, you might want to go ahead and start your downloads for some of the other ones. I would highly recommend doing a 3.2, actually, and the 2.33 is a good one, and so is the 2.2. That's also a good one. The reason why these are good is because I have built-in X86 Android emulators that I'm going to show you in a few minutes that work with these. And these are actually more stable than some of the current ones. They take up a little less memory and they run faster. So, once you've clicked on anything over here, you'll have to click on this little thing that says Install 12 Packages on mine. Then you got to go over to the left-hand side, click over here somewhere, and then, oops, accept the license. Actually, here, I'm going to select everything here. I used to be able to select it. Okay. Accept the licenses, and then click on Install, and it will go ahead and download and install it for you. If you haven't gotten this far, don't worry about it. You can always do this later. You don't need it. So I'm going to let that run, and what we're going to look at now then is I like to get rid of the clutter. So I generally shut some of these down. Oh, we are going to have attendance. Okay, good. Actually, this is a good pause point for attendance. So let's take an attendance pause. Okay, we're back. If you're having problems hearing me in the back of the room, sit up closer. So come earlier next time and sit up closer. There's only so far I can yell, and what ends up happening is students start talking amongst themselves, and it makes it very hard for anyone to hear in the back of the room. If you're having problems downloading, the other thing we can also do is shut the door. That might help with the volume a little bit, but we're kind of limited in terms of the dynamics of this room. The SDK Manager, if you're having problems installing any of these items, just ignore it for now. You can always do it later. These are all optional. You already have one SDK installed when you installed this package, so you don't have to worry about it. It's optional. So what ends up happening, and let me show you how this plays a part in this, is that when we get into the Java environment here, we can pick which SDK we want to choose from when we create a new project. And we're going to create a new project in a few minutes, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But the more you install, the more options you have, is what I'm saying. So you don't actually have to install anything at this point. In fact, if you can't get your class path to work, don't worry about that either. Eclipse will find Java automatically for you. It's not actually using the Java C. It's using a different compiler. But if you were going to use Java on your computer, you want the Java C to be part of the path, because you're going to need that for other Java compilation in the future if you do it. But let's just assume that you have that working, and so we can move forward. If you're still having problems getting the Eclipse to run, check the version, make sure you're on a 32. You actually have a 32-bit version, and you have a 64 if you're on a 64. So, all right. So let's create a project so you guys can see what it is we're working with. The other thing is sometimes you might get an error message about the properties, about the directory for where the ADK is located, and it'll tell you to check your preferences if you ran into that error message. A couple people ran into that one as well. If you look at the if you're on a Mac, it's in the main preferences of ADT. If not, it's in properties or preferences on a Windows machine. The menu items are fairly similar. You'll see this little kind of, menuing system that shows up. You can change the theme around. I'm going to put my theme on classic because I like the classic theme. So now my theme looks more like your theme. I had a Mac theme before. There's a default theme. Looks like that. I like the classic theme, so I'm going to change my theme. I'm going to use mixed fonts and colors for labels. Sure, why not? I can change here the different properties associated with the Android system. If I click down on the bottom and I click on, so the first one it says General, the second tab says Android. If I click on Android, there's a little spot here that's supposed to populate automatically. Depending upon your system, on some of the Windows systems, this doesn't fill in. So before you can use the SDKs, you're going to get errors all over the place until this directory is set correctly. And the directory that you need, did you get yours fixed? Very good. You click on Browse, go to the SDK folder that's inside of that unzipped file that we copied over to your system. So if you're getting error messages about can't finding the SDK, can't do anything, go into Preferences or Properties, click on Android, make sure that this SDK location is set correctly. Sometimes you're prompted for it. If you've never installed this before, when you load up the computer, when you load up the Eclipse, it'll prompt you for that. So don't be afraid if it prompts you for it. Now you can see in the bottom here I've got 4.3, I've got a Google TV add-on, I got 2.3. Your screen might be empty, especially if you're having problems downloading or if you're still downloading. So a few minutes ago I said, download this one, download that one, that's what I'm putting in the window here. But don't worry about it. We'll make sure you have what you need when we start building projects. Otherwise it's not going to work. So long story short, your window might be empty if your window's empty, or it might only have one item in it. And the item that's going to have in there is going to be specific towards whatever you have installed. which is the latest and greatest. Alright, so I'm going to click on OK. It says a restart is required for the theme to take full effect. So I'm going to restart my, I'm going to restart my ADT so I can get the full effect of my screen. Actually, what I've done is I'm going to make my screen look like yours, because mine looks like a Mac. It's now going to look like yours. So hopefully, we'll see what happens. This does take a few minutes. You see the little status bar going across. So. Ah, perfect. Now I like this look and feel much better. So I closed down a few things. In fact, I'm going to close down this little window here. It says outline on it. I got that one closed down. You can close down the bottom if you want as well. That works just fine. What you can't close and what you don't want to close is the Package Explorer, because this is where we're going to put our packages, or excuse me, our projects that we're going to load in. So if you're with me, great. If you're not, you can watch the video later. Or if you're not with me, you don't have a computer, you don't have it installed, just watch and try this at home. Your homework for this week, everyone shuts up when I say homework, is to come in next week with a fully equipped development system. Which means if you have to install Java, you have between now and next week to install Java and to set your environment variables and to fix any little problem that you're having. Because next week you need this set up. This week you don't need it set up. We're going to start from scratch next week, so don't worry about it. We're not going to do the install again. Okay. I'm going to create a Hello World project so you can see what we're doing and we can test out for those people who are here. If you're not here yet, you'll have to do this at home, or you'll do it later. So go ahead and click on File, and we're going to click on New. You may or may not have Android Application Project as part of your menu item. If you don't have that, you can actually click on Other down here on the bottom. If you click on Other, you can open up where it says Android and click on Android Application Project. Or you can simply click on Android Application Project from up here. So go ahead and select Android Application Project. And you get a new Android Application Project window that shows up. So go ahead and give it doesn't really matter what you call it, just call it something. I'm going to call it Hello World, or I'm going to call it Hellotest. Hellotest. And as I typed it in, the application name turned out to be the project name, and now I have example Hellotest as my path name. If you took the Java class, you know what a path is. Package name. If you don't worry about it. It's usually the company URL in reverse. So we'll just use the example that's here. Now, in the windows here, if I only have API 17 installed, I'm only going to see API 17. If I click on the little window here, now you see I've got 2.0, 2.0. These are all populated because I updated that window. Remember when I said click on 2.33, 3.0? That's the options you get in the pull downs for all of the different menu options and choices. I'm going to leave it on what you guys have, so we're going to do the same thing together. So I'm going to leave it on 17. It says minimum 8. Just leave it all alone. Go ahead and click on Next. Click on Next again. Actually, we're pretty much done at this point. Just click on Next until we can click on Finish. We want blank activity. Leave blank activity on there. Click on Next. And then main activity, I'm going to talk about this next week, so don't worry about it. Just click on Finish. What we're trying to do right now is make sure we have a working system. So it takes a few minutes, it builds a few things, and you should see something populate over into the left-hand side. Don't close this window, let the window close on its own. If you close the window, you're going to cut short your... Wow, it's not going to close on its own. Well, no, I see some stuff going down here. Oh, there it goes. It closed on its own. We're good. Now I'm going to expand out the folder here so you can sort of see what's going on. It looks like I need to upgrade to the new MacBook Pro that's coming out tomorrow. Because I'm not really happy with the speed of my computer. Actually, my computer's running pretty fast. It's just that I have recording software and a bunch of other stuff going on. So, anyway, long story short, I've opened it up. And I'm going to give you a quick run through, show you what this project is about. But before I do it, in between, I'm going to load one of my emulators up. Because here's what's going to happen. When the first time I run the project, I haven't configured anything. I haven't done anything yet. This is a brand new install, just like you guys. I'm going to click on Hellotest with my right mouse button. There's two ways of doing it. We're going to run it. There's run as, and I can say Android application, or I can use the menu items up here. I like to use my mouse, so I'm going to use my mouse for this. You can also pick it from the menus that are up here under run. So here, let me show you. I'll just run it this time this way. Run menu does the same thing. Run as Android application. Find that option, say OK, and hopefully it'll come up with an error message. Yes, it'll say something about there not being an Android virtual device installed. All right. Excellent. That's what you're supposed to have happen. So usually there's an OK or there's a configure button. I don't see anything happening on mine. So I'm just going to go into the window. If this happened to you, oh, here it is. It's actually here. Let's stop. Then what we do is we go back, we click on Window, we go into Android Virtual Device Manager. So what might end up happening for you, because your screen's going to be empty, what might end up happening for you, and I don't have these installed so mine's kind of messed up right now, is if you click on OK on that error message, it takes you to this window. If it didn't, go to this window. This is the window. I got to this window by going Window, Android Virtual Device Manager. Click on New. Give it a name. What am I going to call this? I'm going to call this Class Emulator when I'm using in class. You have to pick a device. The device we're going to pick is anything you want, really. Actually, the Nexus 7 works quite well. The second one, the third one down, I'm sorry, Nexus 7-inch or 4-inch. Any one of them actually works. It gives you a certain size screen. What you can do between now and next week is experiment, create some new AVDs, see what the AVDs are all about, explore the SDK, explore the options, get familiar, which is the best way of learning it. For the target, if you don't have, and again, this is why I told you to install that other stuff. If you don't have all the other stuff installed, you're only going to get you're only going to get the highest one, 17 probably, or 18, depending upon what SDK you have. So go ahead and select a version of the target API. You're going to have a different selection than me. For the CPU, leave it on ARM if you can. And then actually the rest of it you can probably leave the same. I changed the memory options to 1024 on the RAM. A little bit more memory to the emulator makes it run a little bit faster. And then internal storage, the rest of it doesn't really matter. Go ahead and press on OK. You'll see it show up in the list. Here's the one I just created. There's two ways of doing this. You can run the project and have it open up the emulator automatically, which is what we did a few minutes ago. Or we could start the emulator, then run the project in the emulator by picking it. So it's your choice. If you click on Start, it will actually start up for you, hopefully. If you click on Launch, half of you are going to have problems with this launching because you might not have ARM support, you might not have Intel support. It depends upon what you're working with. Don't be surprised if this takes a long time to load up. It will take a long time to load up. Long story short, it will take a long time to load up. So mine's loading up right now. When I run it, I should be able to run. This is the one I just created a few minutes ago. It's called Class Emulator. I don't actually need this window open. I can shut this window. I still need Eclipse open, by the way. I can right mouse click and run it again, and it'll run it in this emulator automatically because this is the emulator that I have opened up. We have another choice. Now, for the people who are still working with your Android install, you probably don't want to listen to this because it's more downloading, more stuff. For those people who want a streamlined, fast-running system who have the technical capability of working with this, we have this thing called Virtualbox. I use Virtualbox for the course because I like Virtualbox. There's another one, I can't remember what it's called, Blue something, that you can use to actually, it's an X86 emulator. So Parallels is emulation software, Virtualbox is emulation software. So if you go back to your web browser, leave that up because that's going to take a while to load. While that's loading, I'm going to talk about Virtualbox. So I'm just going to leave that alone. Eventually it will load. Go to Google, type in download Virtualbox. It's made by Oracle VM, called Virtualbox. You'll get a screen that looks like that. Yeah? Then, let's see. For those of you who are having problems, just be sure to wait at the end of the course. If I don't catch you on little breaks, I can't afford to spend, it would take, like, we would never get out of here if I, like, worked with each one of you individually right now. Yeah? Yeah, I'm sorry? You don't have an Intel option. Well, I have to troubleshoot that later. Some of your problems are going to take some extensive troubleshooting is what I'm saying. And if I troubleshooted each one of your problems right now, we would never get through this. So that's why we're spending, that's what today is all about. But I'm going to spend a little bit of time after we end, and I'll hit you. So to just hang around, just hang out longer, and we'll get you fixed by the end. All right, so while our emulators are loading, mine looks like this now. You can see in the background I got a little Android from the small thing on the top. Now I got it in the middle. This takes a long time to load, which is why I'm showing you Virtualbox. Oh, look at that. It actually loads up. Look at that, I got it loaded. All right, that's what you want eventually. But in the meantime, if you type in download Virtualbox, you want to go to this screen here. Click on the Virtualbox for your machine. So if you have a Mac, click on the Mac one. If you have a Windows and Linux one, click on the right one. Download Virtualbox. The install is extremely easy. Extremely easy. So while I'm talking and you're bored, download it, install it. I guarantee it, you're not going to have any problems or questions with the install. It's pretty easy. So, back at the ranch, we have Android working here. I see that my cursor is not quite ready yet, that the system's not quite ready yet because it's got a little round wheel going around. If your emulator doesn't load on ARM, try Intel. If it doesn't load, go backwards. Go down further in the SDKs. The lower level SDKs, the 10s, the 8s, the 9s, load faster and they work better than the 11s, 12s, and above. Which means if you don't have those, you have to install the SDK. If you don't have the SDKs installed, you're gonna have a little bit of an issue. Make it higher. Make the RAM higher. Don't make it lower. It'll never load. How much RAM do you have on that computer? 2 gigabytes? That's probably not going to work. If your computer has less than 4 gigabytes of RAM, I would seriously consider upgrading your computer for this class. You need at least 4. 8 would be fantastic. I have 8 gigs and you see how slow this is running. It's faster. Yeah. Well, it's because I have recording software running. Yeah, I have a ton of stuff running on here. That and the emulators don't work on my system for some reason. So
for now, can I just load down the memory?
For 2 gigs, I don't even think you're going to get the emulator running. I think you're going to need at least 4 gigs to get those emulators running. But you can keep trying. Just keep lowering the memory on it. So, alright, so if your emulator is running, I'm going to shut this one down for a second here because I think I'm hosed. So, hold on one second. Let me force quit this guy. Ah, there we go. Let me show you Virtualbox. For those people who want Virtualbox, you're downloading it and you're installing it. After you get it installed, you get a little window that comes up, looks like this. Oops, it's going to tell me to upgrade it too. Let's just skip the upgrade for right now. What we got on here are called X86 Emulators. So I'm going to show you why I told you that you probably want 2.3 or 2.2. I also have a 4. I have a 4 point something rather now as well. It's on a different computer. I have to bring it in. What I'll do for you is give you the items themselves on. Well, I'll put them on a USB drive for next week. If you come in a little bit earlier next week, get your Virtualbox installed. We'll set up your emulators for you. Because I need to stick them on a couple of USB drives, because you guys can't download them all together. You're going to have a problem with it. Plus, I don't have them all with me right now. So let me just demonstrate this to you, and you'll see that this will run a little bit faster than those built-in emulators. So your emulator is probably still loaded. If it's loading, great. We can use it. Otherwise, I'm going to start up one of my emulators. So I'm starting up this one here. I just clicked on it. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to use this setting. So what you do is you install Virtualbox. You take this ISO image I'm going to give you next week. Unless you, well, I'll wait till next week on that. You copy the ISO image onto your disk. You set Virtualbox to load the ISO image. It's called a live CD. It's loading it up right now. And then I get an emulator that runs a little bit faster, which is the reason why I use Virtualbox and these emulators. Because then, see how fast that loaded up? Not only that, but I made the graphics on here big so you can see them, hopefully. Although you can't hear me in the back, maybe you can actually see the graphics on this emulator in the back. Who knows? But anyway, that's what the emulator looks like. Let me load this program so you can sort of see what happens now, actually. So I can shut this screen here. If I'm using the emulators, there's a little switch that I wrote that I'll give it to you as well. Hold on one second. Let me just run it. It connects the emulator with Eclipse. I'll give you for those people who want to take this route next week, come a little bit early or come on time for class. I'll have some USB disks. I have like a dozen of these suckers. I'm going to put all the images on it. You're going to take the images, copy them onto your computer, and I'll start by showing you how to set Virtualbox up. So your homework is to download Eclipse, download Java, download Virtualbox, install all three if you don't have one or the other. At the beginning of the next class meeting, get the images. We'll load the images up. We'll use this. We'll show you how to configure this. So I'm just going to show you right now. Some of you who have the emulators working can run this themselves as well. So if I right mouse click here and I go run as Android application, mine brings up a little box that looks like that. If you have one of the emulators loaded up from Android, you might get a box too. If not, it might actually just install and load inside of your running emulator that you have loaded. So if I click on the emulator and I click on OK, over here on my emulator, in a few minutes, I should now see Hello World. So this is a much faster, if you notice how fast this took, this is much faster, which is why I like this route. You can also, if you have a phone, I don't have my device with me today. I forgot to bring it. If you plug the USB device, or unless someone has a phone, and you have a USB device, an Android phone with a USB device, you want me to play with your phone? Okay. Actually, do you have a file manager on there? Linda File? Okay, good. Let me have your phone. So I got a Samsung Galaxy 2. Hopefully we're not going to get any weird pictures or anything show up when I plug this thing in. I'm plugging it in to my computer. You can always remove this sucker too. And I'm waiting for the desktop icon to come up. Do you guys you normally get a desktop icon, or is it formatted for Windows? Ooh, that might be a problem. Actually, that should work. Here it is. So it says a battery low. Okay. Usually the phone has a little, usually something shows up on the desktop. Does it show up on yours?
Thanks.
It takes time. Okay, good. Well, we'll give us a few more minutes. What I'm looking for is the phone to actually configure. Well, is there anything I have to press on here? No. Mine just shows up. So, all right. So we'll wait for it to show up. Let me show you what you're going to do once it shows up.
You can just go to my computer and try.
I don't have my computer. I have. I don't see it in here though. Yeah. I don't think yours is gonna work. Yeah. We got another one. You got a cable? I need a cable.
The same cable.
Okay, hold on. Let me try another one. Yours battery's low. Right, let's try this one. No. It's the same phone? Oh, okay. All right, let's see if we got any better luck here. Swipe screen to unlock. I don't have to unlock it, do I? It says active application 0. Yours was also being used on a Windows machine, though. It may not actually show up on here. Anyway, long story short, when I bring my device in next week, I get a little thing that shows up here, a little icon thing, and a little folder actually. And I open it up and I have the SD card, and I can see the contents of the SD card. And what I do with that is I come over here to the bin folder, and if you look into the bin folder, we see one here that says Hellotest.apk. I drag it over, so if I had the folder over here, I drag it out this way, and I see hello world.apk. Otherwise, what we can do is put this on a website and then download it from a website. The purpose of connecting the phone was to get the SD card to show up. So I don't see your SD card either, so your phone's not working either. So it might be that you have some protection or something on the SD card. I don't know. This one's yours. This one's yours. Anyway, long story short, if you drag this APK file, the other thing you can do, here actually, I'll do it this way. It's called Hellotest.apk. You guys have web access on your phones? Okay, so watch this. You're going to go to www.bhacker.com/hellotest.apk. So it's Hellotest APK. So, but give me a few minutes, I have to copy it in. So if I go on a computer and I go to www.bhacker.com/hellotest, capital H and capital T .apk. It should ask you about a download. If you do that on your phone and you say OK on your phone, it'll run through an install. So those people who have an Android phone do that. It won't work for my computer. Actually, it might work for my emulator though. Let's see. From my emulator, let's see if it works from here. www.bhacker.com/H, capital H, E, L, L, O, capital T, E, S, T, .apk. Press return. No SD card. An SD card is required to download Hellotest. Yes, I know. I don't have an SD card on my emulator. So my emulator's not going to work. On your phone, you have an SD card. Did you get it installed?
I did.
And it's running?
Yeah.
Yep. That's the hard way of doing it. However, that's much easier than iOS if you wanted to get it on your phone. So if you go to the website, you have an SD card, just press on the prompts. It says, would you like to download it or something? It says, OK, install it, OK. And then when you're done, you can just uninstall it, delete it. But then you can see it working on your device. What I did, just so you guys know, is I went into Eclipse. Actually, let me exit out of here now. And this is the file here. Oops, I took it out. Cancel. Well, it wasn't here. I pulled it out of here. I could put it back. There we go. This is the file here that came in the bin directory. So the bin folder of your project, when you go to run it, will automatically create the APK file for you. The APK stands for Application Programming, whatever, kit, I don't know. It's the install file. So as I did a few minutes ago, I just put it on my website. You downloaded it from there. You could drag it onto the SD card, which was the same thing I was trying to do when I was plugging those phones in. If you can mount your phone as a SD card, memory device, drag the file over on the device itself. If you're doing it that case, then you're going to press on some file manager, and you're going to load it from the file manager. But then you can get it to run on the phone that way as well. So it's pretty easy, actually, to get it installed. Yeah, it's a capital H and a capital T. On your phone. You have to do it on your phone. Alright, so now what I'm going to do, that we have this running here, I'm going to close some of these extra windows. What would you like to do? I don't know. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is start in with the first tutorial. Do not worry if you don't have your environment set up yet, because you have plenty of time between now and next week to do it. We're not going to actually write anything yet. I'm going to go through a tour of the project and a tour of all the things that we're doing here, so you can sort of see the big picture. So after you have Virtualbox downloaded, go ahead and install it. Once it's installed, you're ready for next week. I'll bring in the images. We'll set the images up. So it won't be that big of a deal, hopefully. And if you come in a little bit early, I will be here at 1:30. So if you want to come in at 1:30, if you want to have your VirtualBox stuff set up, you don't have to wait in line for the USB disk. You might actually get it done. So bring your computer, come in here, copy it over, and we can get you all set up before the class starts, theoretically. We'll see what happens with that. So, long story short, you can always use the built-in emulators as well. So if you go into the bhacker.com website again, this time on your computer, you click on Fall 2013, click on Android Phone Application Developments, and then click on Tutorials. The first tutorial that we're looking at is this one called Hello World Tutorial and Hello World Solution. So download both of those two items, and I'm going to show you another trick that you're going to do. So every one of the tutorials, if you scroll down and take a look, every one of these tutorials that we're going to go through, each one of them has a PDF file, and each one of them has a zip file. The zip file is the project, completed, already done for you. Because half of you are going to get stuck in the middle. You're going to be going, what? All right, so I'm going to close this one here. So I'm closing my Hellotest. And I'm going to now show you how to import in a project that you've downloaded from the website that we're going to look at. So the project I thought I had downloaded, I did right here. It's called ap-hello.zip. If I download the Hello World solution, I get this file here. If I double click on it, it's going to unload it. Don't do anything with it. We're going to import it into Eclipse so it shows up in your Workspace folder correctly. Don't copy it, don't do it. Just download it to your desktop and unzip it. So it's sitting now on my desktop. I'm going into Eclipse. Now you see that I've closed this project by selecting to close it. I can remove the project or I can leave the project. The project still exists. It exists at the location. So if I go out to Home and I look in Documents is where I believe it's at, and I go into Android, I see Hellotest. What most people think they can do is just load stuff into this directory. Doesn't work that way. So don't try to do that. So inside Eclipse, click on the File menu and click Import. If I select Import, I'm going to import the project in. And what am I going to import in? These are all completed projects. So I'm going to click on Android to open this up. And it says Existing Android Code into Workspace. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to click on Next. And then it says Root Directory. Okay, so I'm going to click on Browse, and I'm going to select this file here called Hello. Excuse me, this folder here called Hello. That's on my desktop. So I'm going to click on Desktop, and then I'm going to click on Hello. This is from the zipped file, unzipped file. Click on Open. Now you see I have a new project name. It's called Hello, and it's going to be imported from here. Most important step. Most important. Click on this itsy bitsy little box here. It says Copy Project into Workspace. If you don't copy it, it links it from the desktop, and you get rid of the crap on your desktop, and you got rid of the file, you got rid of the project, and it's not there anymore. Not so good. Why they made that so small and why they didn't make that the default, I'm not quite sure. But you want to click on the Copy Project into Workspace. And then click on Finish. You'll see it shows up, and a few minutes ago you saw there was probably a little red thing next to it. Don't worry about the little red things that go away. The environments are setting up. It came from a different computer. It has to reconfigure itself. So now if I go into that same folder, I see Hello's now in there. If I copy it in, it's a bear to get it into Eclipse the other way. So it's better to import it and then have it show up in here. So now it's in here, which means I can go ahead and throw this one away now. I don't need this one anymore. I can go ahead and clean it up my desktop. So what we're going to do next week is actually build this whole thing. I want to show you this thing so you can sort of see what it looks like. It's another Hello World, but it's a more advanced version of Hello World. And if I run it, and I closed my emulator, let me load my emulator up real quick again. Just takes a second. I'll be on my faster, newer computer next week. Just kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. Let's see. Unfortunately, I closed my emulator window, so I'm loading it back up again. But for me, it doesn't take too long. So, in fact, it'll be up momentarily. Gonna run it so you can see what this does. It demonstrates a couple of different things, and it's our first activity is to work with the concept of the activity. So we'll be creating activities and then loading activities from activities using intents. So if I load this project, hello, I get a couple of different things happen with me now. I have a slightly different project. So it should ask me, oops, here it is, for which device, and it has. So let's see. So this Hello World brings up a little screen that says enter your name. So I'm going to say someone in class. Just to say, you know, so you see it's how dynamic it is. And I press OK. And then from this point, it should say hello someone in class. Hello someone in class. So it's a little bit different. We're loading one activity up first. We're using an intent. And then we're going to load a second activity up. And we're going to send the information from the first activity to the second activity. And then it pretty much gives us a complete kind of way of looking at different screens. So this is what we're going to be building next week, actually. So that's what we're working towards. It's standard input and output. What is this? Auto monitor logcat. Run automatically. No, do not monitor outputs. Yes, monitor output. Yes. All right, so where we get there is to start from the beginning. And what I want to do is open up the tutorial part of this and go through the first part of it to give you a tour of the Android environment so you know what you're looking at. And your homework is essentially to go through the same process and become familiar yourself so you don't have to struggle as much next week. So if I scroll down through the first part, which we'll do next week, I'm going to get to section number 2. Section number 2 starts out, actually it's running around here, section 4. So section 4 is what we want. We're looking at the different activity classes. So as I mentioned before, and it probably made no sense to you, that we had 2 activities. one I call the name getter, the other one's called the hello world activity. And that terminology is coming from here. So I've got the project open, and I'm going to click on the SRS, which stands for source code. And if I click on the ITU edu hello path, or package, I should say, I've got two things here. I'm going to double click on main activity. If you have this project loaded, you can follow along with me actually. And you see this word activity up here. And I should make the screen a little bit bigger so you guys can see it in the back. Let's see if this works actually. Nope, that's not going to work. I'll change my project properties. This is a brand new install. I have to tweak it to get the text bigger. I'll make sure it's bigger for next week actually, because I don't want to spend too much time on this. But anyway, long story short, you see where it says extend activity up here, and I see the keyword activity. This is what I'm talking about. So in Android, which is kind of interesting, we have activities, services, broadcast receivers, content providers, etc. and so forth. There are different types of projects and there are different types of objects. So the activity is like a main program. It's a user interface. So the purpose is to perform some task. So the name getter activity is that first activity that comes up and says, okay, here's a screen, enter in your name. So you put your name in there and you press OK. And it sends you to the other activity. The other activity is just hello world. It's just going to put hello world out there. So one form of Android, and what we're going to learn in this class are all the different design patterns. That's number one. So the number one design pattern, the easiest one to learn, which is the one we're going to start out with, is an activity. After we get done looking at activities and how to use them in multiple sequences and how to work them together, then we're going to go on to services. Then we're going to go on to broadcast receivers. And then we're going to go on to different things. When we get into services, we're looking at phone services. And we also have a section on content providers. So you can use, and we'll create an SMS application. So you can send text messages back and forth between the emulators, actually. And you can also do it on a real phone. That uses your SMS service provider. You will have one that uses the contact list to the address book. We can use the phone services, actually. We can have broadcast receivers, message notifications, and things of that nature. So we'll spend a little bit of time looking at the phone features, which are going to be common among all phones. How to use those and implement them into our own projects after we get past the basics of activities. And then services, we'll do a little chat service, well, probably a little bit of a Echo client server kind of service that we'll work with that. We'll basically explore about a dozen or so design patterns. When I say design patterns, I mean different types of applications. I like to do games, so we'll do a tic-tac-toe game, and we'll do a picture game, and we'll do some, guessing number of games and stuff like that, because those are fun. And then we'll do something like an address book, or notepad, actually, which is a pretty fun thing too. So what we're going to do next week is go through this from the start forward, which is why I want your development environment set up. We are going to end in about 10 minutes or here, so don't rush out of the room if you need help, because I'm saved time today to help you. So, because I can't do it with a big group, I need to do it with a smaller group. But long story short, between now and next week, if you've got everything already set up, that's homework number one is get everything set up. After, yes? Say that one more time.
I set up all things, but I'm not getting to install this.
I know, give you 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, we're going to break from the formal lecture, and I'm going to go around and help as many people as I can for as long as it takes. But for those people who are already set up, before I see you next week, let me show you something else that is actually kind of fun. We have built-in project samples. So we're going to be building about 15, 16 projects in the class, and you'll be doing 6 of them on your own for homework assignments. And then you say, well, that just isn't enough. I want more. Well, then we also have built-in examples. The built-in examples are from the File New And I don't know if they're installed on this one. I don't believe that I have them installed. Let me show you something. Actually, I have them installed in here. 1 second, I'm going to show you something else that you want to install. So after you have it all set up, you want to install the little goodies, the extras. And I'm going to show you why. I have them installed in this other version that I have loaded on here. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. So for those of you who are curious, this is the same Eclipse we used for the Java class, but I manually added the SDKs and the plugins to it. Hard way of doing it. Highly recommend doing it the other way. But let me just show you something. In the Sdk Manager, after you have everything configured, let me start. What should I download? Well, let's see. And this one here has everything in everything downloaded. This will take up disk space, by the way. So there's a pro and a con to it. What you got here are samples for SDK. You don't get the samples by default. So inside of the SDK level, let's say for example 4, I want the samples. 3, I want the samples. I also want to go down to the bottom here under the extras. If you want to make apps for the Google TV, brand new Google TV that's out, you can, but it's under extra. You have to get the extra repository for it. Go ahead and click on Google AdMob, ads, repositories, Play services, if you want to do the Google Play services. Pick as many as you want that you think you're going to use. If you don't use it, you're going to end up having extra hard disk space used. You know, it's going to take up some space. But long story short, I've got everything on here. I've got the Google TV add-on on 3.2. So, long story short, if you do the SDK samples, this will take you about an hour to an hour and a half to install all of this stuff, because the downloads are pretty heavy, which is why I don't recommend doing it all unless you have like a long, like you're just going to essentially sit there all day and do something else, and you have another computer you're working on. Otherwise, this is going to take about a couple hours to download, configure, install. It's not something you're going to do on a lunch break. So, long story short. Once you have it installed, however, you can go to File, New. I can go into Other. And then see, now I have more choices available. So I'm still under Android. Remember last time I did Android and it gave me one. It said Android Application Project. That's why I opened up this version of the Eclipse, because I have more stuff installed on this one. So now I see I've got a bunch of other stuff in here. Android Sample Project is the one I'm going to pick here. Do I still have my emulator up? I do. That's good. Next. And then now I'm going to pick one for, I'm going to pick one of these samples up here on a 2.33. I'm going to go next. And take a look here. I've got about 2 dozen or so pre-built projects. Wow, let's see which one of these works actually. Let me pick a simple one. Spinner, tic-tac-toe, plus a SIP. What's a SIP demo? Skeleton app, snake, notepad, JetBoy, gesture builder. Here, let me just pick one here. I don't like to be picky. I'll just do this SIP demo. I don't know what the SIP demo is. So I pressed on finish. Now I got SIP demo. I'm just going to run SIP demo, see what SIP demo does. Project contains errors. What project errors do we have? Let's see. I probably don't have the API support for it. Oh, I don't want this one. Hold on. Let me get another one. It's got services that I don't have. Let's see. Let's try something else. JetBoy. Lunar Lander. I don't know what Lunar Lander is. I don't know. Alright, so not all of them work. I know some of them work, so I'll go through and find one that works for next time. But uninstall oh, it's already installed, which is the problem. There's a version of it already on here. Hold on a second. I should be able to find something that's not on here. One moment. I know the notepads are on there already, which is why I'm not going to do it. Let's do snake. Spinner. Let's do spinner. That's what happens with spinner. Installing spinner. It's better. Starting it. Okay, good. I got one to run. I don't know what spinner does. Apparently, it's putting up a spinner element, though. So, spinner, it's the widget, it's the item here. So it's allowing me to pick between these different planets here, so I can pick Jupiter. But you can see the entire app actually just loaded up. So I have to pick one that's not installed on the emulator already when it works. So you'll probably have better luck, seeing how your emulators will probably be fresh, brand new. So what you can do is, if you get bored, you got everything already set up, and you really want to work ahead, explore the project formats. I'm going to go through everything from beginning. See if you can get any of the sample projects working. Update your SDK, get all that stuff working. And then be all ready to go. Next Monday, we're going to start and build the one that I just showed you. And then we'll move on to the second one, which will be probably tic-tac-toe, I think is a good one too. So, but I have to go through and explain to you the different project parts at the same time. So. If you don't have any problems and you don't want any help, you can go. If you have problems and you want help, go somewhere else. I'm just kidding. Stay here, and I will help you for another hour. All right, see you next week. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I'm sorry. There was one more thing I forgot to tell you. Hello, one more thing I forgot to tell you. If you want a book, remember I said there's no book for the course? If you want a book, the other thing you could possibly do if you were so inclined, there's an author called Deedle. It's Deedle and Deedle. Deedle and Deedle, how to program. Actually, I'm going to put in here Android. Google Deedle and Deedle. New Android for programmers, app-driven approach, Paul Deedle and Deedle. If you want a book, Deedle and Deedle has kept it so generic, it's not so specific towards the APIs. However, it's all written for APIs. So that's the recommended I get. Although I'm not quite sure I'd buy a book. You might look for an ebook. You might look for something online. Just because some people like to do reading. If you're a reading type, because I will go at a fast pace. If you want to read some stuff and keep up. Your other piece of homework is to find a book that you like between now and then. There's no required book, but get at least your support system set up. So find a book if you need to use a book. That's all. Now I can see you next week.